All right, what's up, everybody? It's Bobby here, Creature's Corner. We're going to do another episode of the Debrief. So, if you caught any of our Facebook Lives, you know that we have on both our Facebook and on our Twitter page, facebook.com/Creature's Corner, or on Twitter, facebook.com/The Crew Chief. We have our entry list. So, we have our Daytona 500 entry list, which currently sits at 44 cars, and then we have our rough draft for the Xfinity Series, which currently sits at 36 cars, and obviously with the potential of more. Then we have our Truck Series entry list that I'm working on still currently. Hopefully, we're going to have that out sometime this week, so we'll have that as well. So if you go on either one of those social media platforms, I have pictures of the entry list that I've built on there. Now, the pictures will look better on Twitter than they do on Facebook. I've talked about this before. Facebook does kind of tone down the pictures, so I do apologize about that, but unfortunately, I'm not really able to do much with that. So going forward, we just kind of want to talk about some of the news that we had this past week. The only thing I didn't get to talk about was the ARCA test session that took place yesterday. Now, due to weather, they only were able to get in one session yesterday, so it was basically the AM session. I posted the top 10 on the Facebook page. I believe I'm going to get it on Twitter momentarily. But we do have Dominique Van Ringren, who was the quickest in her Rhett Jones Racing entry. She turned in a time of 49.641, 181.302 miles an hour. That was obviously in a draft session. And then you had David Gravel was second. Sean Core was third. Then you had Michael Self, Drew Dollar, Ryan Repko, Brett Holmes, Riley Herbst, Jacob Hefner, and Connor Hall rounded out the top 10. So that was the one session they ended up doing yesterday, and they had that due to weather. So besides the entry list, the other news that we talked about on the Facebook Live obviously was the PM session and AM session from day one at Daytona. The PM session, Connor Hall led the way there. And then Ronnie Osmer was second, Jacob Hefner third, Ty Gibbs was fourth, Andy Seiss fifth, Gus Dean was sixth, seventh was Riley Herbst, eighth was Dominique Van Ringren, then her brother Tristan was ninth, and then Brett Holmes was in 10th. So you can see that on there. Then we had talked about Kaulig Racing announced that Justin Haley's going to be driving their first Daytona 500 with Justin, and their first attempt at a NASCAR Cup Series race. That will come at Daytona. They will have the number 16 Chevrolet, obviously a car prepared by Richard Childress Racing, who they have an alliance with, and the Fraternal Order of Eagles will be the primary sponsor of that car. David Reagan announced that he's going to be driving the 36 Select Blinds Ford Mustang for Rick Ware Racing. It'll be the 36 at Daytona, and then it's expected to become the 53 moving forward. This will be in partnership with Front Row Motorsports. It'll be a front row prepared car. Rick Ware did confirm yesterday that it would be his crew, his haulers, and a pit crew that he will have that will work with that team. But the car will be a former Front Row Motorsports car. The body's being hung by Roush Fenway Racing, and then that car will become a Rick Ware car going forward. So Rick will run the 36 at Daytona, and then it's expected to transition to be the number 53. We've also been sharing some pictures of different paint schemes. So on our Facebook page, we have, you see a couple of different views of the Rheem Toyota that Christopher Bell will campaign in his rookie season. Also, we talked about on our Facebook Lives about the ARCA Menards AM session from day one. Riley Herbst loved that. We had a nice PDF for that, but apparently ARCA and NASCAR didn't do anything with that for the other sessions. So that's why you just saw the grand old timing and scoring there. And we had a PDF for the morning session, which was nice. We also showed the new updated look for Martin Truex Jr.'s 2020 paint scheme. So here's a little preview of that. I'll go back and I'll show you guys the picture we had here of that's Christopher Bell's number 95 car. So we shared that on there. Then also we shared GMS's announcement for David Gravel. He's going to run 6 Gander Outdoor and RV Truck Series races. The highlighted one is going to be the one at Eldora. He'll drive the number 24 truck, and at Eldora that will be sponsored by Exalta. Then we had on one of our sister pages, Bobby's Diecast Pit Stop, we had a little Mark Martin birthday celebration, so we had some fun with that. We've got a first look at Cole Custer in his new fire suit for the NASCAR Cup Series. He'll be competing for Rookie of the Year honors. Here's another shot of Christopher Bell's Ream Toyota. And then we had our big news story of the day, of the week, was the 77 news for Ross Chastain. He's going to drive for Spire Motorsports in collaboration with Chip Ganassi Racing for Daytona and the Coke 600. And then obviously Advent Health will be sponsoring Kyle Larson in two events, the Busch Clash and the Fall Kansas race, the Hollywood Casino 400. Colby Howard got announced. He's going to drive 20 races for Johnny Davis Motorsports. I've gotten a lot of questions about this. You know, isn't he starting at Daytona? No, he's not. He does not have NASCAR approval. So Colby Howard will start at Phoenix in March, driving for Johnny Davis Motorsports. Again, a car number has not been announced for him. Then, kind of some disappointing news for you Chase Elliott fans out there. They unveiled his 2020 paint scheme. Newsflash, breaking news. It is the same paint scheme he's driven the last 3 seasons. Then Ryan Sparks was announced as the new crew chief for Coriel Joy. He was a race day engineer at RCR working with Austin Dillon in the 3 team. And then we also got a look at Ryan Newman. So we got a couple news stories here on Ryan Newman. Newman's 2020 Oscar Mayer car, which is expected to be his Daytona 500 sponsor. That car was unveiled. And then BJ McLeod's team announced that Vinnie Miller and Matt Mills will return to their program full-time in 2020 in the Xfinity Series. And then Wyndham Rewards announced a multi-year extension with Roush Fenway Racing. Jerry Baxter was also named the crew chief of Bubba Wallace's number 43. Jerry and Bubba worked together at Kyle Busch Motorsports a couple years ago in the Truck Series. Then we got to look at Cole Custer's digital camo scheme for Haas Automation. That will be its 2nd year on the track. And then the big news of this past week was Team Penske announced a realignment of their 3 Cup Series programs. Joey Logano is going to have Paul Wolfe and the former number 2 road crew and pit crew working with him on the 22. Ryan Blaney will now have Todd Gordon and the former pit crew and road crew of the 22 working with him on the 12 car. And then Brad Keselowski's going to have Jeremy Bullins, the former pit crew and road crew of the 12 team, will be with Brad Keselowski. All the spotters for the drivers are going to remain the same. Those are not changing. It's just the crew chiefs are taking their pit and road crews with them to their new destinations. And that's all we have. These debriefs, we're trying to keep them nice and short. So that's all the news for this past week. We hope to see you guys next week with another news recap. We're going to try to do these weekly during the off season, unless we have some really big breaking news and I want to pop on. We'll pop on Facebook and do that. But that's all I have for today. Hope you guys have a great week.